Hi. This isn't really where I expected to be on Youth Sunday, but at least I don't have to wear a suit. I'm Landon Brown, the second of the three Brown boys. My parents are Wendell and Christy, and pandemic permitting, will be attending Northeastern University in the fall. I've been going to Woodmont since before I was born, and I know the building like the back of my hand. This mainly comes from regularly participating in a variety of church activities like Walk Through Bethlehem and the Youth Leadership Cabinet, but my familiarity may also come from running around on my own and exploring every nook and cranny on those Wednesday night dinners while my mom would frantically search for her runaway son. I have fond memories in every room of the kids' commons, have seen most of the offices in the mansion, and still remember exactly what the youth wing looked like before the remodel in 2014. But now we have a new addition to our church currently under construction. I'm really excited for the bridge to finally get its own proper chapel, but a part of me is worried that while I'm gone for college all the way up in Boston, I may not be able to recognize parts of this place that I know so well. I'm strangely apprehensive that what is meant to be a fantastic upgrade and expansion may throw something off and shift what I remember of this church and my childhood memories of growing up here. I've always had this irrational fear and resistance to change. I can be filled with anxiety when things start to shift to the unknown. The what-ifs cover up whatever hope or expectation there is for something new, good, and beautiful. I've learned to mitigate this issue, and for the most part, it isn't that big of a deal anymore. I can give myself a calming pep talk in my head, preparing for what I know may be possible, and understanding that a majority of the time the change is extremely minor and has no effect in the long run. However, there are those bigger changes in life that you can't really prepare for and can definitely freak you out. Currently, we're all facing a big one. Coronavirus is a really scary thing that can really hurt us or our loved ones financially, emotionally, or spiritually. It's a huge deal and it can affect us all differently. I'm about to go to a college in a city I've never visited before, and I might not get to meet anyone or see a single classroom before I'm all moved in and all on my own. Although these massive sweeps of change rarely ever happen to all of us at once like this, major shifts can affect any one of our lives seriously. They can be really frightening. At times, it can feel like the floor was just yanked out right from under us, leaving us nowhere to stand. Picture that magic trick where the magician pulls the tablecloth out from under a full set of dishes and silverware. Sometimes everything makes it out okay, but often everything comes crashing to the floor, leaving a big mess everywhere. When these big changes leave us broken, it's hard to get everything back together. There's always that fear that change may come again and everything could come crashing down. While I personally haven't had any of these major changes really affect me, over time I've begun to lose that trust that everything will always be okay. As I grew up, I had trouble understanding why God lets terrible things happen, and I still struggle with this idea. My faith has wavered and altered month by month, week by week, and day by day. Seeing people's lives fall apart, watching appalling scenes of wars raging overseas, and people doing abhorrent things in the name of God all scare me away from faith. However, as I'm sure many of you know by now, Bethany Hills Camp is where many Woodmonters feel the most peace, feel closest to God. The serenity woven into the air there is truly awe-inspiring, and I feel like retreats are just as important as a routine checkup at the doctor's. I finally begin to breathe away from all the stresses of everyday life, and I can think about my relationship with God. Ever since my first camp in elementary school, there was this big stone on the side of the pond in front of the rec hall that's just big enough for one person to sit or stand on, and that was my favorite place in the entire camp and really the entire world. During morning watch, free time, or other allotted reflection time, I would go down the hill and sit on the rock, listen to the flowing streams and chirping birds, and watch the sunrise or set and have a chat with God. I would have a very casual prayer, talking about the things in my life I was thankful for at the time, the things I was struggling with, and the things I would hope for in the future. Sometimes I would yell, sometimes I would cry, and sometimes I would just enjoy the company. I always felt close to God on that rock. No matter how I felt about my faith, I had the same core belief that God created people with the ultimate goal to love one another. The rest could be managed in conversation with God while I sat on that rock. But at my first CYF camp 4 years ago, I quickly noticed the rock was missing. It had cracked a year prior, and it may have just broken off into the lake, or it could have been a casualty of some landscaping along the edges of the pond, but regardless, it was gone. I was upset at first, almost devastated. While I could still sit where the rock used to be, the unique landmark that had been the symbol of my faith had vanished without a trace. By the end of the week, I had made peace with its absence, realizing the same strong connection I had to God at camp still existed. Ultimately, what mattered was that I still held the same core belief and continued to pray. It may sound silly, but I still hold that rock in my heart and mind because of what it stands for me. The rock is the base understanding of my religion that holds true. I believe there is a God in some form that created us, and that our ultimate purpose as living beings is to treat each person with true, unbreakable love. One of the parts of living life is that there will be times that it feels like the ground is moving out from under you. It takes a lot of faith to know you'll stay standing when it does, but it's okay to fall. It's okay to crash and break in a big mess as if that tablecloth trick was a total disaster. Just remember to breathe, take your time to recuperate, pick up the pieces and stand back up. It's also okay to ask for help because there are always people who will be willing to lend a hand. For me, those people have been Chris Cox, our youth minister, who is always here to put his all into meeting every single one of our needs, and I'm sure did a great job putting this video together. Trey Flowers, who followed me all the way up from Christ Quest in elementary school to be the youth minister when I was in middle school, and really taught me what it means to love your neighbor. Katie Sheridan Gossage, who was also a youth minister I got to be great friends with, and carried all of the Woodmont traditions into a new generation. Ashley Buchanan, who I was in youth group with and now works here. We have lots of fun in the state leadership cabinet, and I really look up to her as a role model. Cyril Stewart, who teaches Sunday school for CYF and as my disciples mentor in 5th grade, taught me how to really pray. And of course, Mom and Dad, thank you for always being there for me through the ups and downs and listening to me plan out everything, no matter how crazy, pointless, or late it may get. And thank you for reminding me to always include church, because Woodmont has led me through all of the big changes and formed me into the person I am today. Thank you.